In this video, I want to demonstrate this new software program that I've been experimenting with over the last week or two and find that it's pretty impressive at helping me generate 3D models. I'm talking about for Aspire or VCarve or for carving as a bas relief and not something like a statue or something. So this software is called Vista Sculpt, and this is what it looks like right here. And this is not going to be a deep tutorial. This is just going to be some of the things that I've been playing around with and doing with it. I don't see this software as a full replacement for Aspire if you're serious about building 3D plaques and stuff, but it can sure speed up the process. Before we get into the actual workings of VistaSculpt, I wanted to take a few minutes and share what I know about the software cost and how it's structured. So this software is a software out of Europe, Italy, I believe it is. And so the prices you will see on their website are all in euros. And when you're calculating the price of the software, you will need to go ahead and use a euro to US converter to see what the actual price will be if you're buying this in the United States. If you're buying it in Europe, then that's a different story. What you see on the screen right here are the various plans as of today. I'm filming this on 9/7/2025, so obviously the prices will change. You can see the various setups for these prices and the plans they offer. One is a 1-month hobby license. The other is, and you can keep replenishing that as you want. And you can see right now they're running a special for 14% off. You can get into the details here in each of the credits, but this is a credit system. So whatever you subscribe to, you'll get so many credits awarded to you to use during the period of time you're subscribed. Right now, I subscribed to the most popular version right here, which was 349.99 euros. I think I paid after conversion rate and discounts and stuff, a little under $300. You can see right now there is a 30% off on this model right here, this most popular. They offered a 20% discount to my subscribers and followers. So I will put a coupon code inside the video description, and I will also be putting it up on the screen over here to show how you can get a 20% discount if you want to try the software. That 20% discount will be applied to the 30%. So you'll get the 30% off, and then at checkout, you'll get your 20% off. I do want to emphasize that this will only work on Windows machines. It's not like my Vectric and other software that I can use under Parallels on my MacBook. It will not run under Parallels on a MacBook computer. It's the way the library systems are set up. I know this because I at first tried to do it that way, and I had to return the software. Later, I decided it was important enough for me to try that I started using it on my Windows machine. So any of the tutorials or others that I'm doing, I will be using a Windows machine. I didn't want anybody fooled that knows I use a Mac. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there was also a free version. All you have to do is click on this download button and you'll get to this screen. This free download version tells you can go ahead and use it as a demo version, and you can generate models and do various things with it, but you cannot export any of the models you generate. The VistaSculpt support is pretty good at getting back to you, but do remember they're over in Italy, so the time difference if you're in the United States can be quite a bit. With that, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial that I wanted to put together for VistaSculpt. So with that, let's go ahead and show a couple of examples of things that I might be doing in this software program. One of the things that attracted me was that it does have its own AI, or you can use pictures generated in other AI software, or you can just use a picture off the internet or Facebook or something else to do these 3D reliefs. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And let me show you some of the things that I've been able to do with it. So for the first example, let's go ahead and take a picture of something I took off my daughter's Facebook page. Here's one where I took my granddaughter, Lila, open it up here, and you can see that picture that we have in here. And as it came in, take a look at this here. And I go in here and I say generate preview, or you can enable cropping. So if I want to enable cropping, let's see what that does. You see it cropped over here. And then I'm going to say generate preview. And after a few minutes, you'll see what happens. It's not, I'm exaggerating, it's not just a few minutes, and I've got two screens, so I'm going to drag this on here. That came up on the second screen. And you can see how this is the original picture, and this is how the image generated AI, which is pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and use the AI. If I didn't want to use the AI, I could just use this picture straight over here to generate the model. But I think it did a good job with the AI, and I'm finding that it can usually build a 3D model better when I do that. So now I'm going to hit use AI version, and you can see that my granddaughter's picture is over here. And so what I want to do is I want to take that picture and turn that into a 3D model. Now, playing with this over the last week or so, one of the things, if you want a lot of detail, is you've got this detail scale right here. And it's going to take a little bit, but you're going to want to play with this a little bit to try to see what works out best for you. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 100%. I'm going to leave the depth at 3. The depth scale determines how thick the model is going to be, and the detail scale determines how much detail they're going to put in from the picture. The simplification factor I haven't really played with much, and the Z limit I've played with a couple times. Most of the time it's not worth touching, but as you play with the software, you'll get a feel for that and learn more. And this video isn't going to cover all of these controls. If you decide that you want to look into VistaSculpt, or you want more information on that, then give me a comment that tells me you want me to make more tutorials on how to use different controls in this software, and I'll consider that. So now that I've done that, you can see there's a generate 3D model here, export 3D model, and generate 2D vectors. So I'm going to start with generate 3D model initially. So now what it's doing is it's generating a model from that original picture that turned into AI of my granddaughter, and we'll see how that works out. And I'll speed this up a little bit. It will normally take about a minute, sometimes faster, sometimes a minute and a half. It doesn't take an extremely long period of time, but I imagine that is based on the speed of your internet and your computer, etc. I have a fairly powerful computer and I have high-speed internet, so it normally takes me, like I said, about a minute to 2 minutes to generate this. So we'll just sit here and wait for that. I'll speed this up a little bit in the video. And there we go. You can see it took 3 minutes and 27 seconds to generate this one, so it was a little longer because of the detail. Let me close this. And now if you look at it, that's not too bad, actually, the way it's got the pupils in the eyes and everything else. If I didn't want quite as much detail in here, I could mellow that out a little bit, but I actually like the detail that came out in this picture. And so we take a look at that, and I say, I like that. And so with that, I can turn the picture around if I want to kind of take a look at it. One of the things I do notice is sometimes you get this little bend in your picture on the bottom or on the top. In fact, let's turn it around this way. You can see a little up here and a little down here. And most times that doesn't cause any kind of issue, although it can on some drastic times. So I haven't completely figured out why it does that. just wanted to give you a heads up that it's possible. You've got these views up here. So if I want to get that centered after I've been playing with the mouse and moving it around, I can either view it the right side, and then if I do that, there you can see the little bends there at the top and the bottom. I can view left on the other side, or I can come in here and I can view top. If I want to rotate this picture in the X direction, then I can use this here and I can rotate it up or down. All right. And on the Y direction, I can rotate it that way, up and down. And on the Z direction, I can rotate it around. Now, the interesting thing is I had to play with these because these things don't necessarily go like I would have thought X, Y, and Z. So just realize you can move it around and then play with it. Now, if you want to get it back to the original, just go ahead and hit this reset right here. And now the picture is back to what it really was. Let's go view top. And this light feature will give you a little different look at it, intensity and so forth, if you want to play with that. Oh, here it is over here. And I haven't really played with this light one at all yet. So let's see if I can figure out how to close it now. I'll just turn it off over here maybe. All right, so I got that turned off. And we can see this is what the model looks like. I actually think this model, this picture looks pretty good. So now, or this model, I should say. So once I have this model, I could go in here and do other things, and I'm not going to bother to do that right now and crop it and so forth. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this 3D model. And it's asked me where do I want to export it, and I want to export it into a location that I've set aside for these YouTube videos. And so I'm going to go look for that. Let me look for that real quick. I'll speed up through that. It's not important that you I will also normally export another model, and I don't know whether I'll go through that in today's video, but I will export it as a map called normal map. Hit save here, put the same thing for the title, and that normal map, or it's really a kind of a depth map, I'm going to use for a skin when I bring it into Aspire, and that's a whole different topic from talking about this software. So now we've got this model that I've exported. That first feature I just demonstrated was taking in a picture just off the Facebook page. So it wasn't even a high resolution picture, and you can see how well that turned out. The other one I want to talk about is its own AI. So I'm going to put generating an image in here. And I'm going to put something like, I've been playing around with various images. Let's see if this will work. I'm going to put hummingbird in tree flowers. How about that? Tree flowers. And I'm going to go, now that I put that simple description, now you could put more in there to make it more detail. And as an example, you see this one says a man standing on the moon with a flag in his hand was an example they used. Let me do this one first though. We're going to generate that. And now it will take a couple minutes to think about it. And one of the things I'll point out while it's generating image, you can see I made it a square resolution. You can make this a square resolution, a landscape, or a portrait resolution with this button right here. This is a drop down. So this is how this one turned out, and I actually think this looks pretty nice. So I'm going to go ahead and say I like this, and I'm going to hit the apply button. Over here on the right, you can see various images that I have generated as I've been trying this software out. But with this one, I'm going to go ahead and hit over here and hit apply. And now I've applied the image over here, and there is nothing that I've changed over here yet. So this main area I'm working with hasn't changed. and everything I would do over in these controls or over on these left controls would impact this image. But now I've got a new image, and I really want to generate a 3D model off that new image. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go generate 3D model. Do you want to continue? So it's telling me, do you, if you do this, this model is going to go away. Have you exported it? Have you done all the stuff you want with it? And I have in this case, so I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. But that's what that warning is telling you, is do you really want to do this because you're losing the model that we just generated? The answer is yes. Once again, it's going to take a couple minutes, and I'll speed up through this process. So there we go. There's the model that generated, and that's actually a pretty nice model. If I want more detail in the area of the bird's feathers and stuff like that, I might be able to get that. So let me try that. I'll move this detail up to 100%. It was at 50 originally, so we'll go from half to full range. And then what I have to do is go ahead and generate the 3D model again. It's going to give me that warning just like it did before. And I'm not too worried about it because I know this model, if this is what I want, I just go back to 50 when I generate it the next time. So we'll generate this one here. Yes, I'm going to generate it. Okay, total time was 1 minute and 5 seconds. And we can see you can get just a little bit more detail in here in the eye and the other areas. And so I like that one better. And so I'm going to go ahead and use this one, and I'm going to export that 3D model. And we'll just call this one Hummingbird in Flowers. And I'll hit save. And as I said before, I like to export at the same time as I export that model another version, and I'll put a Hummingbird Flowers up here, but I'll change that to a normal map. And I will put in here, so it makes it obvious to me that the reason I bought that, the reason I did that was for that to be a skin. All right, so now I've got that. And what I've showed you so far is me taking in a picture, and then the other one is, or was, me generating an image using the AI inside of this program. You can go ahead and generate vectors now from this. Let me just show that one thing. And so I say I want to generate 2D vector. Now, whenever you are doing something here, this is a credits program when you start using the AI. And so if I wanted to create the vectors, I would go ahead and hit generate 2D vectors, and in this case it's going to cost me 3 credits. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see how it works. It usually takes a minute or two. Again, I'm using 2 monitors as I make this video, so once in a while you'll see me drag a menu screen or something onto the main screen that's recording, because it will pop up on my other monitor. All right, it just popped up on my other monitor. Now I'm dragging it across. And there are two versions of vectors. One version is the center line of the outline, and the other one is the actual image. And this one is good for doing like V carving on a piece of wood. This one here is good for other activities. So I normally will pick the one that was the outline, and I'm going to say export 2D vectors, and I'm going to say Hummingbird in Flowers outline. So I know that's what that one is. So I exported that one, and then I want to go close, and I want to get those centerline vectors this time. So I'm going to hit generate 2D vectors, and it won't take nearly as long this time. It's already up, and I'm going to go with the centerline versus outline. Export those 2 vectors, And I'm going to say hummingbird and flowers. And so now I've got vectors from the images and from the models that I did. I hit close. Now that we've shown the image we can generate through their AI, you can also bring in AI images from other software like MidJourney, Copilot, etc. And let me show you how we can do that. The first thing I'm going to do is go get one of those images by using the load image, similar to how I got my daughter's picture. So I've already created one image of a rhino head. Let's use that in MidJourney. So we'll open that. And the advantage to that one is that that one's already pretty much set up to turn into a bas relief or a high relief sculpture based on how they put the prompts inside of MidJourney. So for that reason, I'm not going to even bother in this case to generate a preview, because I think I can just use this one that came out of there and it'll work pretty good. So we're going to hit skip preview in this case. I'm not going to use any credits here because I'm not going to enhance the image. No reason to enhance it. And so I have 95 credits right now. Let's see if this uses any credits at all when I'm all said and done. So I've got the image right here. We've already saved all of this from before. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to, it's already a square image, so I'm going to leave it at 1024 by 1024. I'm going to not export, I'm going to generate a 3D model of the current image and settings. So I'm going to do that right now. It says this is an existing model. We saw that before. We hit yes. This model took a little over 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 seconds. I'm going to hit close. And I think that looks pretty good as it is. We turn it around and everything else. That looks pretty good. But let's see, do I want a little more detail up here in the skin or a little more depth? Let me turn this sideways. I think it's looking pretty good, actually. And I think it's looking pretty good. Let's see what more detail would do for us. Let's go up to 100. Let's go up to 100% and just compare it. Now let's close that. I think that model has more interesting. You see the way the eyes are sunk in and the wrinkles around all of this. I think that looks pretty good. I like that model actually better. Now, the other thing I will say is let's go to view top. All I'm doing is using my center scroll wheel to move that up and back if you're wondering what I'm doing. So one other thing I want to show you is that in all of these models, I haven't pointed out that there is no solid back on the models these days when they come out raw out of the model generation. And that doesn't really cause any problems in Vectric, but it could cause problems in other software programs. So if you want a solid back, let me go back to the back. You see how it comes up like this. I haven't mentioned that yet. All you have to do is come back to the model and hit solidify. And then it's solidifying the model. And there you see it just created a nice flat back. And now it's solid. I thought I should mention that. And that was true with the other model generations. Each one of those did not have a solid back on it. So you need to do that. So now that we've got this rhino, I'm going to go ahead and export that 3D rhino model. And I'll put rhino head. I just want to know that I got it from MidJourney. And remember, the other thing that I'm going to do, and I may or may not need it, is export the 3D model again as a normal map. Rhino head map. And I'm going to hit save. And now we've got the rhino exported. So in summary, I've gone over 3 different ways of generating a 3D model. One was from a picture that I got off of Facebook of my granddaughter. The other one was the AI generated feature of this software. And the last one was using AI. This one was MidJourney, and making a picture come out of that and bringing that into this software. In addition to the 3D model outputs, remember there's also vectors outputs. So we can generate 2D vectors that we can use in Vectrix VCarve or Aspire to do things like VCarve engraving and other techniques like sketch carving and maybe other things. Before I exit VistaSculpt for this basic tutorial, I want to cover one more thing that is pretty cool that they've done, and that is that you can actually take these pictures, like this rhino picture I did, and you can put it in a frame right here in the VistaSculpt software. Let me hit the view top and move it up bigger because I like looking at it from this angle. And they have this frame feature over here, and I'm not going to go into detail. They have several different features that you can put in using this feature. Again, this is an overview of VistaSculpt and how you might be able to use it with various types of images or generating images. But I thought this one was pretty cool enough to go at least over it a little bit. And that is, you can go to frame up here on the top, and you can create a frame around the mesh or the model. And when you do that, then what you're going to do is get this menu bar right here. And it doesn't always look as nice on mine. There's the reset down there. But you can see that you have this frame then that is put around it, and you can see how the frame looks. And then you can adjust the frame over here with this menu bar. And like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this frame. But for example, if you want to change the thickness, all you do is move this slider over here on the left, and it changes the thickness of the frame. If you want to change the angle of the frame, you can change the angle of it simply by moving it around, and you can see the angle shifting from basically flat to now having a miter kind of look. You can change the inner offset so that it's coming in or out. And then you can also do other things like move the frame or various aspects that you want. And so that's pretty cool that you can do that. The other thing I'll point out is you can see it says rectangle up here. And if you want to change it to another type of frame, such as a round frame, you could deal with that, and then you can manipulate that frame. But they also have several other types of frames that you might want to use as you click on these frames. And of course, with each of these frames, you would have to play around with it. And I'm going to go back to the rectangle frame we started with, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but once you have that frame, on the bottom of this window down here below where you can't see it, and I'll have to figure out that's some kind of resolution issue that I'll work on later, there is a apply button. So I'm going to pull it off screen for a second, and I'm hitting a little apply button, and now that frame is added to the model, and it's right down here below reset down in the very bottom. I'm not sure why it won't show up on my screen. But with that, now you have the frame, and if you export this, you're going to export it with the frame, and let me do that, export 3D model, so I can show you at another time how that turned out. So if you were going to take this, say, directly into Vectrix VCarve, you wouldn't have to worry about setting up a frame or anything else. It would already be there. Whereas in Aspire, you can do it there also, but you can create your own frames in Aspire pretty easy. With that, that's the end of the information I want to share on VistaSculpt. In future videos, if you want to see it, I'm going to show you how you take these VistaSculpt 3D STLs that you now created and use them in Aspire or Vectrix VCarve. Make sure you tell me in the comments section if you think that'd be worth me putting time into, and if you're interested in that. Well, that's it for the demonstration of the VistaSculpt software. There's many things that I can do with this software. I've only touched the surface. I plan on making future videos off and on the software, and a lot of that will depend on the feedback and the communication I get from you that are watching this video and your interest. If you're not interested, it's probably not worth my time to make the instructional videos for you. In the next video, I will at least make one more video showing you how I use the VistaSculpt models in VCarve and Aspire in different ways. So you'll have to make sure you're subscribed, like, comment, and share if you can, but make sure you're subscribed so you can see that future video about how I used the information that I shared in this video directly in the Vectric software, which is my go-to software for carving, etching, etc. with my CNC. To close out the video, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you a couple previews of some of the carvings that I'm making in those softwares as we close out. Have a great day. Until we meet in this medium again, I look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.
I was walking out one evening late. The moon was rising high, headed for the riverside. Around us fuss and fight. Patrolman, he walked by, asked me where I'm going. Said if the sun set on me there, I'd never make it home. He said, don't go downtown tonight, there's trouble on the rise. The bad men in the shadows, and they're bound to take your life. If you mind to ramble, I'll tell you how I do. Keep your money in your pocket, then the razor